Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Sig Rogich joins us. He's the head of Rogich Communications, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
What kind of a man lies to women? This one. Steve Sisolak is lying to us about abortion, opposed to contraceptives, no exceptions for rape or incest, abortion ban. Joe Lombardo doesn't support any of those things. Sisolak is a desperate man trying to hold on to power. Our schools are unsafe, police are under attack, and families are struggling. What kind of a man covers up his failures with lies? This one.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers at the Ahern Hotel in Las Vegas. We're always delighted to welcome back to the program my friend, and I'm proud to say that, Sig Rogich.
Thank you, Sam.
Heads up Rogich Communications. I want to start with you on the international front. With war begins and continues with fighting, but in the end it's a political settlement. Where do you see the end of the Ukraine war?
Wow, what a question, Sam. Listen, I think we screwed up when Obama was president, when we let the Russians roll into Belarus and didn't do anything about it. And then it just added more fuel to the fire when we allowed the Russians to mobilize around Ukraine and did nothing until it was too late with Biden. Having said that, I don't know how you get what they would term in modern language a political settlement per se, because I don't think the Ukrainians are going to give up any territory. They may be forced to at the very end to do something, but I don't think the international community can allow someone to go in and arbitrarily grab a piece of property and say it's theirs, you know, and expect the Ukrainians to accept that. I don't see that happening. I think, on the other hand, we have to make sure we're getting bang for the buck, because we are financing this war. And I don't think Republicans necessarily want to spend that kind of money. I disagree with them. I think it's important that we establish the fact that someone can't run over an ally, you know, like the Russians have done here in the Ukraine. So I think this is prolonged. The winter months might be a factor, you know, because it gets cold and that changes the temperament. But they're sending young kids out with no training, the Russians are, and they're dying. You know, they don't know how to shoot a gun. They don't know how to, you know, take care of themselves on the battlefield. They give them 2 weeks training and send them into war. And there's an eventuality here where mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers are going to not stand for it anymore. So I think Putin is short-lived, in my opinion. The eventuality, whether he has some kind of a face-saving measure or not, I can't imagine him surviving this.
We must have known how weak the Russian forces were
I'm not sure if we did or didn't. You know, I certainly didn't.
Me neither, but I mean, it just seems that with the amount of firepower, because I mean, let's face it, in real world terms, we are literally at war with Russia at this point in time.
Well, theoretically.
It's our munitions. We are. Jackie Rosen was on the program a couple of weeks ago saying that from the very beginning, the United States was agreeing to restock whatever weaponry we used in this war, and you know, others have said that this is going to go on for years. I mean, we're at war with the Russians.
Well, I don't think it'll go on for years. And by the way, restocking is something we had done traditionally anyway.
Right.
You know, that's not something new. We might have given them better armaments now, more sophisticated ways to defend themselves now, but for the most part, we've been there from the beginning. And I've been to the Ukraine a few times in my life, once with the president, and I loved it, loved the people. It's got a lot of history, you know, a lot of brutality that came into play when the Nazis occupied it and killed and exterminated a lot of Jews there in Kyiv. And so I have a fondness for the country, and I hope that they win this thing and kick the hell out of the Russians, really.
Has this reorganized the thinking process for the Chinese over Taiwan?
That could be a silver lining in all of this. I think they might look at how the world is reacting to what happened here and think twice about what it might do to them if they try to do the same thing with Taiwan. And by the way, Taiwan is much more sophisticated militarily, you know, in terms of equipment, the ability to fight, you know, trained forces and so forth. They've had to be. And so it would be a different kind of war. It could take a long time to eliminate Taiwan, a small island community that has a direct line of confrontation with China just across the water. Could be different.
The other part of this, though, and what's fascinating, is if you Google trade between China and Taiwan,
it's significant.
It's huge.
I know.
So you on one hand, you have this threatening situation, but you've talked about this on the program before, that this conversation has been going on since the Nixon era.
Yeah. Well, you know, they need the Taiwanese. They make the chips for the computers, and the computers won't run without the chips, and China's not prepared to pick up that load. So it's a relationship of necessity, I think.
Are we in the United States able technologically to pick up where the Taiwanese are? Because we're investing tens of billions of dollars in chip factories.
We are. Yes, I think we are, and I think that's coming. I think that'll be the next phase. I think the fallout from all of this is self-sustainability for the United States. I think we realize we need to manufacture our own goods. We need to get back to what made this nation so strong, you know, during World War II and after the war, when we ramped up and became the leader, industrialized leader in the world. And we lost that along the way. We start farming everything out, you know, but we need to get back there.
But on the other hand, won't that raise the prices of things? Because that was part of the global economy, was that we could produce goods far cheaper in other parts of the world.
You know, you'd think that'd be the case, but if you look at the tariff components, and if you look at VAT, let's say, you know, the value-added taxes, every nation in the world, for the most part, except us, collects on a VAT tax. What is it, 24% or something?
That's huge.
It's a big
number. The British one, yes.
We don't do it. I mean, I always thought we should do it. Why not? Everyone else does it. The Chinese do it. You know, the Canadians do it. The Mexicans do it. So it's more complex than we meet the ordinary, and when you're trying to define that kind of issue.
You know, in a personal thought here, the one thing that I would love to see is, no matter what the taxes are, that when you go to buy a product, the tax is included in the price, not an add-on afterwards. Because so many times we purchase something in this country and then we find out that there's a giant tax that's attached to it, whereas you go somewhere in Britain, for example, the price you see includes the VAT.
No, I know that. Well, it's kind of like in Nevada when we've got the resort fee.
Right.
You know, what's that all about?
Well, we know what it's all about. It's just painful.
It's just painful.
And
really.
I will point out that here at the Ahern Hotel, they do not charge a resort fee.
Well, I'm glad. I'm not surprised. Donald wouldn't.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll stay in the Far East for just a little bit more,
Okay.
right after this time out.
My job is to help women make the best choices about their reproductive care. Make no mistake, electing Adam Laxalt will give Mitch McConnell the power to pass a nationwide abortion ban. The fact that this law would criminalize physicians and nurses for practicing women's health care is unbelievable. A lawyer politician like Adam Laxalt has no role in making medical decisions for my patients. I went into healthcare to help people, and Adam Laxalt should just let me do my damn job.
SMP is responsible for the content of this ad.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
The 10th Annual Nevada Newsmakers Goes to Washington is brought to you by the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, your RTC, our community. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. Compassion, accountability, integrity, respect. The Nevada Mining Association, mining a better future for Nevada. And NV Energy. NV Energy proudly serves Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Sig Rogich. If you are not familiar with him, just Google the name and you will be astonished. There will be plenty of reading material there. You represented Genting with Resorts World here in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. They surprised a lot of people in Macau when they applied for one of the licenses that are up for renewal. There's only 6 licenses, right. And now there are 7 firms competing. What, if anything, can you share with us about this?
Well, I can't share anything because I don't know much, to be honest with you, but I think they'll be successful. I think they have a chance to get one of those licenses. Who does it come from is a question. You know, I don't think it would necessarily come from MGM because you only have one there. On the other hand, the Chinese are changing the dynamic in Macau. I think they want a Chinese national to be part of whatever happens. And I think the taxes will go up somewhat. And I think they're going to insist that they build some type of family entertainment venue that sets aside from the gaming component itself. They've asked from that from the beginning. No one has really done it. I'm not sure the merits of it or not. I haven't looked at that, you know, from a business standpoint.
So you don't think that there's going to be a 7th license?
I don't think so necessarily. I can't imagine where they would build it, number one. Have you been over there?
Not since the year 2000, which was before the expansion.
Yeah, I've been there many times, you know, and if they added a 7th license, you'd have to essentially buy the land from an existing operator. I do think they're going to be a few changes, yes.
Wow. All right, let's take another break. We'll be right back after this. I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker, and you've got a lot of convention space and meeting breakout space for people. Tell us about what's available.
Well, we can handle a group up to about 250, and anywhere as small as 10 or 15. So it really depends on what you're looking for, what the customer's looking for. We're open to anything. It's a beautiful drive, and if you live in South Reno, it's probably about 30, 35 minutes, so it's real easy to get to. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take an Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Sig Rogich. He's the president of Rogich Communications. We have a United States Senate race here that's one of the tightest races in the country. Your thoughts on where we are with that?
Well, it's one of the tightest races in the country. I think a lot depends on how the governor's race turns out. I think and I think there's a hidden number in this governor's and these polling data that I see. And traditionally, that's been the case here, too, in the past. But if Lombardo were to win this race by 4 to 5 points, then I think he brings the Senate with him. I think that's a possibility. I do think that Democrats were riding a bit of a wave about 3 months ago, and I think that peaked a little too early. The abortion issue has fallen, you know, in terms of national polling that I've looked at. Some have it as low as number 8 in the order. The lowest number I've seen is about 65% of the people think it's the most important issue. But behind inflation and crime now and education, it falls off a little bit. And the other thing is, I don't know if you saw the poll, the CNN New York Times poll, but about 2 months ago it had urban women voting overwhelmingly at a 14% level against Republican candidates. And the poll 2 days ago or 3 days ago had an 18-point plus for Republicans. I think that could be somewhat of an outlier in a poll because 32% change but it tells you that there's a lot going on here.
What do you think's driving the Lombardo numbers? Because that's a huge gain.
Well, we've got a governor who's a bully. He gives new meaning to bully pulpit, in my opinion. You know, and his staff will tell you that quietly. And I think he's been arguably the worst governor I've ever seen in my lifetime in this state. What he's done to our state is hard to fathom. Crime is rampant. He is mean to people. He's a know-it-all. And I just think he's been bad for our state. He fell into that woke theory of, you know, let's get extreme about everything. And I view myself as a pretty moderate Republican, you know, on social issues especially. And but I don't think you take it to the degree where you eliminate the word mother and father from our vocabulary like he did. And I just think that he has tried to bribe the people of this state with money that was given to them by the people of the state. So John Ralston summed it up when he said he's bribing people with their own money. I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Well, that's, now, of course, you've been a Lombardo supporter from the very beginning, but the numbers are quite striking in terms of the polling.
Listen, you know, it's tight. It's going to be a reflection of voter turnout and how the models are on the street. But one of the key ingredients, you know, if you look at the culinary union, you know, I don't know what the percentage is, but the greater percentage are Latinos that work in that industry. And they're not necessarily for Sisolak. You know, I see the Latin Chamber. It's got membership now of, what, 40-some thousand, because they let a lot of these people come in that couldn't afford it previously. And they endorsed Joe Lombardo. That took a lot of guts to do that. If that number holds true, you know, where you're getting 40, 45, even 50% of Latino votes here that are voting with Republicans because of different values that they cherish, then I think it's a whole new ballgame. And it will be transformative for the state and other races as well.
CCAA doesn't make any endorsement. NSCA comes out at the last minute with their endorsement. Doesn't seem to be very strong to me.
The most startling one, you know, here you have a governor who shut down 100,000 businesses, and probably a third of them never opened again. And of the other 2/3, half of them are struggling to even make it work. And so how can the Chamber of Commerce then endorse Sisolak? You know, it was a cop-out, and pressure built up from somewhere, somehow. And I don't think it's going to hold. And I know so many members of the Chamber who are upset about it. So I think you're going to see some changes after the election.
Well, that will be interesting.
Yeah.
Let's talk about one of the questions on the ballot, which you know, is ranked choice voting. You know, you were in favor of term limits. You and I have disagreed on this over the years, but you were very much in favor of that. What do you think about ranked choice? Because to me, it strikes me as very confusing.
It's confusing. I'm voting no. It's a cop-out. I did see where Wynn gave a check for $250,000
Right.
to it, you know, to put things in perspective. I wonder why. You know, why would they do that? Do they really believe that strongly that this is a good thing for our state? So I don't think it's going to pass. I don't think any of the three questions are going to pass, really.
And that was the endorsement of the Las Vegas Review-Journal, was to vote no on all three of them.
Was it? I didn't know that.
Yes. The CDC has come out with some recommendations that you just don't agree with.
Well, you know, the CDC's been all over the place. You know, prior to the COVID, I had such a high regard for the CDC, and I still do in many ways. But for them then to, this morning or yesterday, mandate or try to use a mandate that children, you know, first, second, and third grade should be vaccinated with the number 4 vaccine, I think the time has come when you let parents make that determination. There is also a significant amount of the medical community that say that vaccinating children that young is dangerous. It causes heart problems. I think they said 1 in 1,000. So you put 20 million kids that get vaccinated, or whatever the number is, you're going to have tens of thousands of kids with heart problems, some that die. I think that's something that parents should determine. There comes a point in life when, you know, that's why they call them parents. They make those determinations for their children.
Do you think, for the most part, that the public has voted that COVID is over?
Well, I don't think it'll ever be over. We're going to have one series of viruses after another. I think the key is to get ahead of it so that you find ways to keep the air cleaner. You know, you're going to have to find that there's better ways of doing business, you know, with crowds and in schools and in public.
You know what the irony is to that is that, you know, we discovered through COVID that people weren't washing their hands, that people weren't using basic hygiene, you know, blowing their nose, whatever it might be. And yet, all of those things, you know, all the grocery stores were providing wipes and all this, most of that has gone away. We've reverted back, and that doesn't make sense to me. If it was necessary during COVID, shouldn't it be necessary, period? Because that way we could cut back on the flu and colds and all kinds of other things.
Well, I think a lot of people kept those habits, the new habits they
Hopefully,
gained,
yes.
You know, I do. I hear people talking about it, just like you are now, you know, and I'm hopeful that'll be the case. You know, they sneeze, you know, and turn their face away. You know, they're conscious of trying not to spread germs to other people. They wash their hands more.
Didn't they? You know, my shock is that didn't these people have mothers? Because my mom, you know, would have slapped the heck out of me if I wasn't washing my hands and if I dared to, you know, sneeze.
Well, if
in
you're
somebody's...
like you would not have had a mother. You would have a person.
Okay, I will leave that rest there. You had some thoughts about Steve Kluback.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts about Steve Kluback. You know, he's a
prominent Nevadan.
He's a perfect adjunct to Sisolak. The two are a pair to draw to. They're both bullies. And he wrote a letter, I think, to the county commission threatening them if they didn't do some things at Reed International Airport. And here's the kicker. The county commission went to the district attorney and got a cease and desist. Have you read about that anywhere?
No.
They got a cease and desist order against the chairman of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. So that sums it up to me. That says a lot, that they would take it to that degree.
I want to ask you something. We've got about a minute left here, because it was a story in the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and it's astonishing. There's a new sport that involves slapping. Did you read about this?
No.
Okay.
I'm surprised.
It's being promoted by the Fertittas and Dana White with the UFC. And there are certain places on your face you can't slap. But apparently this is a new... Have we gone completely insane?
Maybe it's just humor, slapstick humor. Maybe it's that, you know, who knows?
and this is why you're a very famous ad man, sir. Listen, thank you as always for doing this.
Nice to be with you.
It's
pleasure.
always a pleasure.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
Okay.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Ahern Rentals began as Signal Gas Station on Las Vegas Boulevard. Founder John Ahern grew the business by offering rentals. His son Don built on John's legacy, growing Ahern Rentals into the largest independently owned American rental company, with 89 locations in 30 states. Don also brought his experience and vision to equipment manufacturing with Extreme Manufacturing and Snorkel. Today, Ahern Rentals continues to bring its family values to a new generation. Learn more at ahern.com.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
The 10th Annual Nevada Newsmakers Goes to Washington is brought to you by the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, your RTC, our community. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. Compassion, accountability, integrity, respect. The Nevada Mining Association, mining a better future for Nevada. And NV Energy. NV Energy proudly serves Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers as we broadcast from the Ahern Hotel on Sahara Avenue in Las Vegas. We'll have more coming to you from Las Vegas in upcoming shows. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching.